Welcome to the Improve Our podcast. Here you'll find conversations and practical advice that will help you develop your team leadership skills, improve employee motivation and performance, improve work relationships and communication, along with other areas related to people management. If you are an entrepreneur with a team, a business owner planning to have one, or a team leader in a company, this podcast is for you. I'm Daniela, an HR consultant and founder of Improve Work. For over 20 years, I've been in the HR field, continuously learning and gaining experience across its various areas. On this podcast, I support those in team leadership roles, whether they are business owners or CEOs, in finding practical solutions to the challenges they encounter with their teams. You may be facing some of these challenges too. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to stay updated on new episodes. Let's dive into today's topic. Hi everyone, welcome to the Improve Work podcast. Thank you for taking the time to join me and my guest. If you have difficulties hiring people who share your company's values, or if you simply want to better understand how you can assess this aspect during the selection process, this episode is for you. Having team members who share the company's values is one key aspect that contributes to employees' smooth integration into the company, their desire to be part of it, and also reduce the conflicts caused by differences in values. This topic was brought up by this episode's guest, James Sackl, who shares some of the questions he has about this topic. James is the founder of Wallace Biotechnologies and Terraform Technologies. Wallace develops technologies that help people stay healthy and active as they age and have access to healthy food. And Terraform Technologies designs and manufactures solar-powered industrial machines that help reduce production cost and make materials, construction materials and other types of products more affordable. As a founder, James has experienced the challenges of finding people who not only have the right skills, but also align with the values and mission of his companies. In this episode, we discuss how to determine whether candidates share the company's values and avoid potential challenges caused by differences in values. Let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, James. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me on.
So we have a list of questions to discuss. You sent me some questions, and I would say that most of them are related to employees' alignment to the company missions and values. Is this right? Okay, so
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
And I would like to take each question in turn and discuss it.
Certainly, let's do it.
Okay, so your first question is related to interview design. You asked me about practical techniques to test genuine convictions versus rehearsed enthusiasm. And
Yes.
Also, what questions actually reveal whether someone believes. And I think that you refer here if they believe in the company's mission or...
Look, I think company mission is certainly one aspect, but probably broadly and maybe more importantly is whether the underlying beliefs and values align with the rest of the team. So one of the things that I strongly believe in is having unwavering alignment with your colleagues. And especially for a startup, because a startup's got a very sort of limited pool of resources. And if you're, the buzzword these days is diversity. And I feel like a diverse, and when I say diversity, I'm talking about a diversity in values. When you've got sort of a diversity in values amongst what should be a very coherent team as in working towards the company mission, it becomes a distraction and sort of a not a good allocation of resources to argue, the fundamental values of each other. So what I'm really asking is how you can sort of find out quickly during hopefully the interview process whether somebody is truly aligned sort of with the core set of values that the team collectively possess.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a clear understanding of these common values of your team members?
Yeah, I think so. I think. I mean, I'm not talking whether you're, what sports team you prefer or anything like that. I'm talking like fundamental sort of beliefs. It's like, fundamentally, am I a capitalist or a communist?
Uh-huh.
These sorts of sort of, ground truths that sort of guide every decision making process. Yeah.
So I think that you you have to have a good understanding of the values that you want to support in your company, whether
Correct.
these are now implemented or not in your company, and focus
Yes.
on those values. And yes, try to identify if the candidates you have for different jobs share their those values. And you
Yep.
can do this through behavioral questions, through thinking about what kind of behaviors would demonstrate that the person has or doesn't have that value. Because you can't see beliefs, you can't just ask if they believe or if they share or don't share that value. You have to observe behaviors, and
That's it.
you can ask questions about to see if the candidate has those behaviors, or you can simulate situations. You can make some scenario where you can actually see those behaviors. For example, you can have some tests. Maybe I think that you have some phases in your selection when you test the candidates, and you can implement those scenarios in those tests. For example, I don't know. Let's go with. I will come back to this later. So,
Sure. Sure.
so this is one aspect to think what kind of behaviors reflects that value, shows that value,
Mm.
and what kind of behaviors show the contrary or different kind of behaviors. Can you give me an
Yes.
example of the value that you want to assess in an interview?
So I think they can be sort of distilled to sort of, five key things that we look for in candidates across both of our companies. The first being is a willingness to challenge the status quo. And that is, I guess, the value of sort of continually being curious.
Mm-hmm.
The second one that would be sort of secondarily most important is what is the, how do you define value to humanity? So when you've got a choice between doing something or not doing something, we really like to sort of decipher whether someone is truly doing it because it actually adds value or whether it's perceived to be a good thing. So I guess it sort of relates to the first one of challenging sort of the status quo and sort of distilling what is a core truth or without sort of being a virtue, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, or trying to virtue signal. Really trying to sort of decipher what someone truly believes is pushing that needle for humanity forward.
Mm-hmm. So let's focus on the first value that you want to assess. As I was listen to you, I think that one behavior that can show this is whether the person is um is a nonconformist person, and you could ask questions that show this aspect. For example, if they have courage to say something when they notice that things are not okay, or question things. So
Yes.
behaviors that show that they are not necessarily a person who conforms, who do what they are asked to without thinking about what they were asked to. So they have to
Yes.
process the request, the information that they receive through their own thinking, and not just follow the orders. So you for example, you can ask questions like, give me an example when you saw a mistake that your manager did, or a mistake in a concept, in a thinking, in a problem. How did you address? Did you address that issue or not? When did you choose not to express your perspective, and when you choose to express it? Things like this.
Mm, mm, mm. So that line of questioning, you think we could sort of ask them at a tertiary sort of level, like, give me examples of the past.
Yes, so you try to predict future behaviors, seeing how the candidates behaved in past situations. And you can
Yep.
ask 2 or 3 questions, not just one. But it's not necessary 100%. You will not be 100% sure that if they ask how you expect to those questions, they will actually behave in how you want in your company,
That's
because
right.
people behave differently in different contexts with different people.
Yes. Yes. Well, this is the sort of crux of my, one of my questions anyway was, how do you decipher between what sounds good in an interview versus what they're actually going to be like, as part of the team? Because, you can sell yourself in an interview, but then sort of once you actually get the job, what is your, what are your actual spots like? When the leopard, reveals his spots type thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know whether it's an interview only answer, and it's different to reality, or whether it's a truthful sort of, from the heart answer?
Mm-hmm. I think that it's very important to observe the candidates' behaviors during the whole process till
Yep.
you have the first contact with them, until the last step of till you make them an offer. Even that step, it's an important one. You should see them in not just on an interview, in an interview meeting. You should have contact with them 3, 4 times, depending also on the job. And you can see them in different days, in different maybe they had in one day, maybe they had a good mood and they present themselves very good, and maybe in
Mm,
another day they had a bad day, and they are not showing up so well. They don't sell
interesting.
themselves so well.
Interesting.
And you should observe if they are consistent in their behavior, in their attitudes, in what they say.
Mm, mm, mm.
If they strive to make a good impression, so making this effort to make a good impression is not necessarily a bad thing. It could be an indicator that they are interested in getting that job.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Sort of, you sort of interview them at different times and at potentially even different places, to see whether behaviours are consistent.
It could be, for example, 2 interviews, but also you can observe them in the when you test them, because when they have a test, they also interact with maybe 1, 2 members of the company, and these
Yes.
members can also share their opinions about these candidates, even if they are not specialized in HR. They can share what the impression that candidate. What are their impression about the candidate, because one person could behave very good with a person who they know that decide if they will be hired or not, and behave
Yes.
differently with the secretary or with another person who is just passing. So
That's right.
you should observe these things also, not
Yes.
necessarily take a decision based on them, but as if you have more information, you have more data about the candidate. And you
That's
can
right.
observe things like, do they strive to give good answers in a test? Are they organized? Do they prioritize quality versus quantity? This is a value that you can test. You can ask them more questions, or more, you can give them a more difficult task. and that they are not able to finish in the time that you will give them. But
Yes.
and you can see if they choose to, if they focused on quality or on quantity. Maybe they choose not to answer some questions, but answer good to some of them.
Right. Right. Right.
Or you can
I sort of get what you're saying. Yeah.
insert some mistakes in those test and see if they observe them, if they have attention to details. You can ask some vague questions and to see if they ask the person who supervised them during those tests clarifying questions. This is also a thing that you can apply to see if they have initiative, if they are not conformist, if
Mm,
they
mm.
are, if they take actions when they don't know something.
Yes. Yeah, I guess determining someone's true intent is really whether they've got an answer for every question that you've got them, or that you give them, or they say, quite literally, don't know, and I'll go away and look it up. That's a pretty good litmus.
Yes, and also see if they are prepared for the interview, because this also tells you if they are interested about the job. Do they come knowing what the job is about? Do they come knowing what the company is about?
Mm,
What questions do they ask during the interview? And this will show you what are they interested in a job.
sure. Yep. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Good points.
So you can just ask them what motivated you to apply for this job, and see do they give vague, confused answer, or they know for sure what they why they did apply.
Mm. How do you determine whether someone is sort of virtue signaling? Comes to my second sort of set of values. How do you determine whether someone is, virtue signaling, or whether they're actually, a good person or not?
In which sense, if they are a good person or not?
Well, my second point was whether they, how do I put it politely, whether they say something to sound like a good person, or whether
Ah,
they actually have a good moral compass. Because
uh-huh.
that's another sort of important sort of, I guess, collective value that we like across our teams, is they actually do things to, move the needle forward for humanity.
So do they want to present themselves only in a good light? Do they recognize their mistakes? Do they sh- uh, do they take accountability? You can ask questions like, give me an example when you make a mistake. What did you
Mhm.
do? What did you do in that situation?
Yes.
Or or so if they are honest, give me an example of a situation when you realize that you need to say something that that could have negative impact on yourself, but it could save, I don't know, other a situation. Some it could benefit the company.
I see. So see what their sort of ethics are, I guess, is what you're trying to
Mhm.
say.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
you can in a way assess this also in the phases when you test them. You can there are many ways in which you can assess this. You can be creative in these methods.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess this is where it's great to have a talk to you today, because getting those sort of interview questions and techniques sort of honed so we can apply them as a, in a methodical way when we do all of our interviews, we can sort of create a formula for how we actually decipher people. Um,
Mhm.
and it's great you've got a sociology background, because that I think is really handy.
Yes, because we learn how to. So you start from a concept and you break it down, and I
Mm,
think this is the solution to assess any value that you want. So
yes.
what does it mean to have integrity? What behaviors show this? And okay, I have a list of behaviors. What questions could I ask to see those behaviors
Mm,
until
mm.
you reach the question. The distance is so far that they will not realize what you want to see with
Right,
that question.
right. Yeah, I guess that would catch some people out if they were trying to virtue signal or not.
Mhm.
The third, yeah, go ahead.
I want to say that it's very important to compare the past work experiences of those candidates with your workplace and see if there are similarities in culture, in work environment, in the industry that they work, and also see how they felt, how they experienced those workplaces. If they felt very good in companies similar to yours, chances are that they will integrate easy in yours also. But if
Sure.
they worked in different industries, in different sectors,
Mm,
maybe the integration will not be so smoothly for them. It's not
yes,
necessarily something true in all the cases, but it could be. It could be
right.
something that will help you.
Sure. I was going to say the third value that we have is the value to want to build. So it's sort of this how we sort of currently tackle it is we ask what they've done previously and get them to show evidence of what they built. And it could be anything. It could be a problem that they've sort of found a solution to, or it could be actually something that they've sort of gone out, seen a problem, gone out and built it, both in the physical world but also in the digital world. Have you got any other sort of lines of question, or any sort of behavioural sort of observations that we could make that sort of determine whether someone is actually a builder?
So the builder in what sense?
Insofar as actually sort of rolling up their sleeves and seeing a problem and devising a solution to
Hmm.
that problem.
So
Um,
being a proactive, it's related to what you say at the beginning, to to be curious, to be nonconformists, to
yeah,
have their own thinking and perspectives on things.
correct. Yeah, it is that, but it's also, I think, seeing a problem and
Taking
even if it's
initiative.
a solution, taking initiative. That's right.
Mhm, mhm,
That's right.
mhm.
Yes.
Yes, you can ask questions like, give me an example when you propose improvement ideas on a process, on a product. Give me past examples of initiatives that you took at your work.
Okay.
Um,
The
it
question
could
of that would be,
There could be
yeah,
other questions and other ways to test this. It has to be given a thoughtful thinking before
it does.
going and ask those questions.
That's it. That's it. So I guess the follow-up question for me would be, okay, let's say, for instance, they, told us about a problem that they had previously. This is the solution. How do we know that they were the ones that actually devised the solution? It could have been
Uh,
their team. It could have been, they could have had a very, very small involvement in it. How do you go and decipher that?
Asking questions about what they did, what they personally did. So if they are able to give details, chances
Yep.
are that they know exactly what happened and what they did. If you ask questions and they don't give clear answers, it can show that they didn't necessarily come up with that idea.
Mm,
And
mm.
um, and it's always good to test candidate knowledge, even if they say in their CVs that they did something and they have experience in something, what they say in that CV is not necessarily proof that they know how to do those things. You have to test them. Without testing them,
Yes.
you can't rely on their knowledge.
Yes. Yes. That's because that's where we've sort of tripped up before, is in the solution looks great, but it turned out that they had a very small involvement in developing that solution. So knowing that someone's got, I guess, the capacity to not only spot the problem, but also work through technically how you solve that problem. That's a really key sort of a core competency of all of our team members, is they possess that ability.
Yes,
So
yes. And I want to address just one issue, one aspect of your question, and then we'll go to you and let you present your companies. So I'll
sure.
just want to say, I think about alignment with the company mission. So your company is in a biotechnology industry, and I think that it's a hard, difficult industry field to be understood by anyone. So I think that the understanding of your company, products, mission, goals, it's not necessarily accessible to all your candidates. And it's a lot to ask and assess in the hiring process, alignment with the mission, because they have little knowledge about what your company does. And you have to expose them to information that help them understand the products, the company. So it's very difficult to take this into consideration in the hiring process. You can
Yeah.
consider it, especially with the jobs that are exactly on your company. They have knowledge and they have a professional background that allow them to understand the mission. But if you hire for sales or for an accountant, I think it's very difficult to see if they are aligned with the company mission.
That's right. That's right. It is difficult. And I guess I'm asking for a lot, but it just, I feel, is as I said at the start, a startup has a very, or really any company should be resource conservative, right? So it should always allocate its resources toward the best, value accretion activities that it can. And what this is sort of anecdotal, but where you've got team members that are not aligned value-wise, it wastes a lot of time and a lot of energy arguing the fundamentals of why a decision is made. And we've now sort of, I guess, hit on this sort of, insight that having the same sort of person, albeit different skills, in an organization is a much more efficient way to operate a team than pursuing diversity for diversity's sake.
Yes, it's a good point. And also make sure that the values are explained, are known, and are discussed in the company. So when you take a decision, analyze it and communicate, explain that decision also from the company's values perspective and from the company mission perspective. So make links to the values, to the mission, so employees understand the why, how that decision, how that action process relates to the mission with the values, and also ask them to explain how their decisions linked to values and mission. Of course, that there are other criteria and other perspective from which you analyze the decision and actions, but this could be and should be one of the criteria if you want to put accent to values and to mission. And also this will clarify expectations, your expectations related to their how they take decisions and how they consider the values of the company and the mission.
One of the other ones, so the fourth one that I was going to say is work ethic. So the work ethic is a really important one because, there's a lot of talk of work-life balance. And again, it comes down to, being mission driven. And we really try to recruit for people who have a very strong work ethic and are willing to sort of, put in the effort required to achieve sort of, mission critical goals. And again, this is an area that you're happy to work beyond the 9 to 5, and inevitably people in the interview say yes, but then when it actually comes to a crunch time and 5 o'clock rolls around, you have some people sort of looking at their watches and more focused on the clock than they are sort of the outcome that the company needs to achieve. How do you peel that back and say, do you have the grit to just work through no matter what?
So if they look at their watches and they want to go, even if they didn't, they have something important to finish, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm not saying that it's sort of 365 days a year. You kind of got to work back to do an all-nighter or something like that. But where you've got a goal that the team must meet, one of the sort of friction points is some people, certainly previously, said, no, it's 5 o'clock. I don't work past 5 o'clock. This is it's a touchy point because, in Victoria, for instance, there's the right to effectively the right to silence. So you can't be contacted outside of hours. And frankly, it doesn't work for startups. Startups are crazy places, and you must pull rabbits out of the hat to get things done. So how do you decipher that, whether someone's truly has the work ethic to be what it takes?
So I would ask them before that they actually happen, because when you work on a project, probably you already know how much work it should be done, and if the time that you have left it's enough or not, and if there should be extra hours, and you could ask them in advance so they are not surprised, because maybe they have their own plans. And if you ask them in advance, and also offer them free time in other periods of time, in other times when they need it, when they choose to have those free hours that compensate that extra work that they have done. I will think about this and I will come back to you. I will write to you and give you
Sure.
more more answers. But we'll have just a few minutes left, and I want to let
Okay.
you talk about your companies, because they
Sure.
are
Sure.
very interesting companies with very interesting
Certainly.
goals. Tell us more about your company's goals.
Okay. So I'll start with Wallace. So Wallace is a biotechnology company founded in 2020. Our first product was a super user friendly device that was applied to the COVID pandemic, and we ended up securing national government contracts for supply, both here and overseas. And we've moved on. Basically, the learnings from that were that biodata is scarce, and in the age of AI, having a trove of biodata is super important, because really what AI is great at is pattern recognition. So we've set about, one of our goals is to build up the largest bank of biodata anywhere in the world, and we're doing that with the development of an autonomous wet lab platform, which will make the cost of test sense, which will mean that testing for as many biomarkers as you can possibly imagine will be available to everyone.
And the other company?
Yep. So Terraform, it was founded around the same time, and it's on the observation that solar power or photovoltaic panels, so solar panels, their cost keeps dropping. So it actually halves for the doubling of solar panel production. And by extension of that, it will become the cheapest form of power, hands down, anywhere. So our goal is to basically design the machines or redesign the machines that run the resources that the world relies on. So I'm talking steel, concrete, hydrocarbons, chemicals, to run off essentially free energy from solar panels. But they must work economically for the 6 hours of solar energy that's available each day. So it's a exercise in extreme cost efficiency. But one of the goals is it will basically be the cheapest source of materials, again, anywhere on Earth.
Can I ask you, how did you become interested in biotechnology?
It was really by default. So we saw an opportunity. We actually didn't see an opportunity. We saw a huge problem in what if the virus that had spawned in China was going to go global, and how would you know whether you had this new virus or not? So we ordered some tests for that virus from China, came in the mail, and we've got 4 kids, and we sort of thought to ourselves, how do you get a kid to do a COVID test? And, putting the swab up your nose and then, having a dropper, and, you need a flat surface for it. And, they can't do it themselves. So we set about very quickly it was the back of a napkin sketch, to see whether we could use a form factor or design a form factor that would make it easier for kids to use. And that was the sort of genesis of Wallace. It was, how can we make testing easier? And, our cost per test was in the dollars. And we thought, great, we've got a universal testing platform for every biomarker. So we set about sort of trying to apply that same technology to other biomarkers. And then when you look at the number of biomarkers that are, present that can be tested, and you look at the accuracy that you need, suddenly you realize the cost to test, many, many biomarkers is going to be in the tens of thousands of dollars, a week. So we pivoted from the at-home testing platform to a laboratory testing platform, and realized that the cost is in the handling. So the solution to that was make it autonomous. And it was really sort of by default that we got interested in biotech, but you realize that it's something that we've all got, and something that we really do need to understand, and we can understand it now with the surge in cheap intelligence that's artificial intelligence. You just need that data set.
How can people find more about your companies?
Yeah, they can look me up on X, so I can give you my handle for that, and you can put it
Yes.
on the pod. Or you can go to wallacebio.com, and you can go to terraformworlds.com, and you can have a look at all the cool things that we're doing.
Thank you very much, James.
Thanks for your time, Daniela.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you found value in this podcast, one way to support us is by subscribing. For more tools and insights to enhance your leadership skills and your employees' motivation, visit my website at improvework.ro. There you'll find a variety of online programs and courses. You can also book a free consulting sessions or a discovery call with me. I love to connect and support you on your leadership journey. See you in the next episode.